Okay, how are you all? Stephanie.
Yeah, we need to talk about Globus.
We can talk about Globus. First, hang on a second here. Okay, folks. Hey, hello. If you are not me, please stop talking. Thank you. So I got a couple announcements, then we're going to go over competitive rivalry. And we may get done a little early. Anybody upset about that? Stephanie, yes.
I'm not upset about that. However, is competitive rivalry on the exam?
No. It's going to be on the second exam, not this one. Okay, so first of all, talking about Globus, prices dropped a lot. I noticed, like across the board. I don't know if I've ever seen all the teams drop their prices that much, like at the same time. You may want to raise them a little bit next year, just as a general advisement for everybody. Team G, once again, congratulations, tied for 30th best scorer in the world right now. One other announcement. So I have your cover letters. I just sent all of you my markups on your professional development plans over the weekend. I still need to do my markups on your LinkedIn profiles. If you turned in there's a couple of you that I don't have the cover letter from, but if you turned in your cover letter and you did it on time, I gave you the full 50 points, just period. It was a done or not done thing. If it's late, I'll take off a few points, but otherwise, I'm only going to do markups on the cover letters if you email me and ask me, I would like your input on this cover letter. I've got a lot of work to do, so if you want my feedback, I'm happy to give it to you, but you need to email me and let me know. Otherwise, if you turned it in, you got the full credit, okay? And there's, like I said, there's a couple that I'm still missing. I will email those of you about it that I'm missing that from. That's it for my announcements. Any other questions? You want to talk about Globus in front of the class, or you want to talk about Globus just offline?
Great.
Huh?
Here's great. So I've become a bit concerned with the insider information bit, because I noticed that in 1 week, every team, with the exception of one that wasn't doing a strategy, is now doing the same strategy. And I'm wondering how many insider information emails are being sent out, because we were second place and they were not too far behind. We're the bottom two now, and we do it early in the week compared to Sunday. So I was concerned that maybe a lot of people are getting emails saying, well, their price is this, so you'll need to go lower, and then we're getting undercut on Sunday.
Actually, this past week, I was too busy to give any feedback to anyone because I went to the Stanford UCLA game with my dad. Go Cardinal. So I actually didn't send any input whatsoever. What I did do in the first week was go in and, without telling anybody what to do, because it's just too time consuming. There's too many tweaks. I went in and helped the bottom two teams. I just went in and changed some of their decisions. I will do the same thing in the future for anybody that's at the bottom of the game, just to help even the playing field. However, this past week, any changes were actually just from people's decisions, because I didn't have time to tell anybody anything.
So it was all just organic? It just
that was all. This past week, it was all organic. I did not have time to give anybody any advice or go in and make any changes to their decisions.
That's tricky.
Yeah, I got too busy, unfortunately.
I think people are learning.
Maybe, yeah.
But you know, since you're in the bottom two now, I'm happy to help. So if you fall far enough down, then I help you bounce back up. Any other questions about Globus or anything else?
what's your bug bounty policy?
What's that?
What's your bug bounty policy?
Bug bounty?
If we find a complete exploit, do we get anything for telling you about it?
Like a bug in the system?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you truly find a bug in the system and it's not just something that's supposed to be that way. I don't know what exactly the bounty is, but I'll give you something.
I'll talk to you after.
Okay, cool. Anything else? Okay, let's talk about competitive rivalry. And good, I'm still recording.
I finished it this morning.
Yeah, I did too. I started it last night.
I started it yesterday afternoon, and then I woke up early and finished it this morning. Did you figure out how to work out like on there?
Like,
I thought it said like in the instructions like you wanted to work out somewhere like on the page.
I just put it in the footer.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
I just
It didn't say where. It just said.
Why is this not opening?
see, I might just write mine on there because I didn't have to put it on there. But when I uploaded it to Blackboard in the little content section, I was like, couldn't figure it out. Here it is. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's on my footer on both. Which one did you write it on?
I wrote it on the first one.
I did it on the second one. I felt like it was easier.
Oh, really?
To make longer, yeah.
I didn't have a hard time
No, writing no. Especially if you went by like what you wanted.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I did it.
But it just like, I don't know. I understood Solomon a lot better than I did the other. But I'm tired. I did not want to be there.
Well, like 2 weeks ago, I'm like, okay, I need to start this paper, and I literally just got swamped. I was like, the last night paper when I didn't want, but
Yeah.
I think it turned out like good though. Like after I reread it, I was like, oh, okay. We'll see. I feel like he's gonna be kind of tough. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I had a really tough philosophy critical thinking. She was when he made me like that. Well, it's like she was really picking every word. How to structure each sentence. Each sentence is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I should probably proofread it. Usually my papers find a bunch of mistakes, but see, I didn't have time. I just finished it this morning. So I was like, I hope it doesn't find a bunch of mistakes.
I know it was 20% grade. I just tried to. Is it supposed to be like?
I don't know. I just always kind of think like it should be. I don't know.
I prefer this over the exam.
Yeah, that's
Like, plus I feel like I would like get more of an understanding writing a paper than I would studying for the year. Like kind of exams, like only this is math. Yeah, but you don't like really get it. At least I don't.
Yeah, because it's like I kind of remember sketching.
Yeah.
You know, I just do it better as like I slowly figure it.
Yeah. And then you're writing it and you're reflecting on it. It just, I feel like it's learned better that way.
Yeah.
I do not understand why sometimes this is so slow and otherwise other times it's not. Okay. Competitive rivalry. Once again, we're up here right now in the big picture of the handbrake strategy model. But this time, instead of looking at the internal operations of the firm or the external environment of the firm, we're looking specifically at, or the customers of the firm. Now we're looking specifically at the competitors of the firm. So again, first week was here, second week, third week, fourth week, and now we're here on competitive rivalry. After that, we'll be going through corporate level strategy, acquisitions and restructuring, international strategy. Actually, no. That's going to be part of corporate level strategy. We're going to go over international after corporate. 7. That's right. No, I take that back. We are going to go over that. And then international, then corporate governance, then management or organizational leadership and controls. So that's where we're at right now. Competitive dynamics. So competitors, not surprisingly, engage in competitive rivalry to try and gain a better position over each other. There's both actions and responses that we're going to talk about today, and then those actions and responses feed into the dynamics of the marketplace, which then feeds back into rivalry again. So there's two concepts we're going to talk about today: market commonality and resource similarity, which is a useful way of comparing competitors to each other and seeing just how close they are. Then we're going to talk about a little bit about the drivers of competitive behavior, and then specifically we'll talk about likelihood of attack, or firms that take an attacking position, and then firms that take a responding position. Finally, those attacks and responses create some sort of outcomes in the marketplace with both financial performance as well as customer and market share, which then feeds all the way back into the competitive analysis again, and the whole cycle starts over again. So it's important that you determine who exactly you compete with and how you compete with them. And there's a useful concept that one of my colleague David Olson has covered in depth that I've decided to bring more into this class compared to earlier versions. And it's the concept of market commonality and resource similarity. So market commonality basically means how much does your company overlap with your competitor in terms of the same customer base that you target. And then resource similarity is how alike are the resources that your two companies are basing their competitive position off of. So there's a nice little chart here of high versus low market commonality and high versus low resource similarity. And I want you, it's a pretty basic designation, but this is actually going to feed into one of the exercises that I want you to do in the case analysis template. So before we go to attack, so if I pull up, this is really in your own words. There's equations for how to measure it, but after I look through everything that David does, I think the best way to approach this at the level of this class is for you guys to simply tell me this in your own words. So I'm going to get out of here for a second, or at least try, and pull up the case analysis template again. And it's going to load for 5 or 10 minutes probably. So, Nintendo. You guys are doing Nintendo, right? So I don't think we've talked about Nintendo so much yet. Tell me like while this is loading forever, tell me a competitor of Nintendo that you'd like to compare them to. What's that? PlayStation. Got it.
Steam.
What's that?
Steam would probably be the other one.
Let's do them one at a time. So, which one do you want to do first? Huh? Okay. So, we've got Sony, PlayStation, and Nintendo. So, now that we've got the template up, let me go to the correct section. Reminding you again, the very last thing that we'll do in this template is the first section here because it's a summary of everything else you've done. Much of the first part we've gone over, however, you'll notice so that's going to be later. This is what we're going to go over in week 7, basically. This whole, is that right? Yes, this whole chart on mergers and acquisitions, basically, joint venture strategies. International we'll go over in week 8 or week 7. I can't remember which one's 7 and which one's 8. All of this stuff we've already gone over for Porter's 5 forces and driving forces. We've already gone over key success factors. We've gone over internal analysis with company resources, and so this is basically the resource-based view analysis here. Competitive strength assessment, we talked about that last week as well, comparing, giving a rating to each factor that each, both your main focus company and your competitor have. And then we also talked about your customer segments and the questions you want to answer from them. We talked about, man, this is slow, market sizing. So finally, there's a couple things we're going to talk about today. Generic competitive strategy comes next. Competitive attack defense postures. So for the same customer segments that we talked about in your customer analysis, I want you to copy those customer segments. So I think as an example, Emmanuel, when we were talking about Remax, we talked about like first-time home buyers, middle-age upgrades, and single adults. Yeah. So those same 3 categories you're going to put down as the segments for your competitor analysis too. So if we do this for Nintendo instead, though, and we're comparing them to Sony, we've got segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, and oops, I missed one here. Can you guys see that? Sort of, kind of. I wish I could turn on the lights up here, but they're like permanently off. Okay, so what are 3 different market segments that you guys might focus on for Nintendo? Don't everybody else speak up at once.
Home entertainment.
Huh?
Home entertainment.
Okay. What else? Huh? Do they have mobile entertainment, Nintendo? Okay, perfect. You can tell how long it's been since I've actively played video games. And what's the third segment? Can I suggest perhaps, Hisham, what were you going to say? Say again? I'm not sure if, are they improving something for customers?
They're inventing new stuff. They have like Wii type technology.
Okay, so what if we said, existing home entertainment and new home entertainment, maybe?
Like before they used to have like everything is wireless, now everything is wireless.
Okay, got it. So those are our three segments, and we're going to have market and resource commonality and similarity here. So if we're comparing them with Sony, in home entertainment, how similar are the customers that they target?
Super different.
What's that?
They're a lot different.
They're like what's okay? So without getting into the details of the difference. Okay, so Sony PlayStation targets a very different home entertainment audience than Nintendo, right? Got it. So Xbox is more of a direct rival for Sony. Okay, got it. So that's that. How similar are their resources, Sony as a company and Nintendo as a company?
Sony has a lot more because they have movie studios and everything else.
I would say as well, Sony has a lot more and different resources than Nintendo. So if we go back to...
More inventory.
What's that?
More inventory.
Nintendo has more inventory? Or Sony? So yeah, I would agree. Okay, so if we go back to here, we've got high and low market commonality. So I think we agreed that it was low market commonality for that segment. And then high and low resource similarity. And we also said that there's low resource similarity. So in this case, you're going to put in a 4 in that column here, okay? And over here in the comments section, I want you to give me one sentence as to why you believe it's a 4. 1 or 2 sentences. We're going to have 1 or 2 sentences about this column here too. So I want you to make sure that it still fits on one page. So no more than 2 sentences to describe why you think it's in that category, okay? Does that make sense for everybody in here? Okay. So that's resource similarity and market commonality. Next, factors affecting likelihood of attack. So there's a number of different ways that companies take an attacking versus defensive position. One of them is to be a first mover. So if you've got a lot of investment in R&D, you can be the first company that comes up with a new innovation, kind of like we were talking about with innovative new Nintendo games. And if Nintendo comes out with their new games or new entertainment first, they have a great opportunity to get customer loyalty before somebody else comes up with a copycat game or piece of entertainment. There's also late mover instead of first mover. So Microsoft, like we talked about, is a master at this. Microsoft doesn't really invent anything new. They wait until somebody else spends all the R&D money to invent it, and then they come in and take advantage of the learning curve that somebody else already paid for, and pick up the the extra market for price and profit after the market's already mature. So there's two different ways to attack. One of them being first mover, the other being late mover, kind of like Microsoft. And first mover perhaps would be more of an example of Nintendo. So organizational size. You can also compete on size. So basically, small firms, when they attack, tend to attack by being quick and flexible. Big companies never make decisions fast about anything. So big companies, and they also tend to not be concerned about little competitors because little competitors don't really eat into their profit margins very much. So big companies tend to attack big companies at a slower pace, whereas small firms tend to pick away at the market by being quick and flexible. Two other ways to have an attacking posture. One is based on product quality, and one is based on a fast versus slow product life cycle. So product quality, you can kind of imagine whether it's performance or durability, perceived quality, aesthetics. If you have something about your product that is clearly differentiated and better than the competition, one way to attack is to really focus on that in the marketplace, on that difference that you alone possess. Fast versus slow. Basically a slow product life cycle requires that you're continually protecting. If it takes a long time to go from one step to the next in the product cycle, there's more time for your competitors to figure out what it is that you're doing. If you have a fast cycle, it's really a question of how quickly can you go through the product development cycle and either reverse engineer and imitate things, or how fast can you develop things new. So if you're very good at quick product cycle, whether you're the first mover or the late mover, you can compete on the ability to go through a product development cycle quickly. If you have a slow product development life cycle, you tend to have to take a defensive posture rather than an attacking posture. So that being said, I've got a couple slides here talking about defense instead of offense. So we talked about attacking strategies in that last slide. Now, defensive strategies. If all firms in an industry are subject to the same challenges, the same problems, they tend to take a more defensive posture sometimes than an offensive one. So they can counter those challenges by working on their risks, on their weaknesses, so kind of those two areas of the SWOT analysis. And then they can also try to get other competitors to not attack them, but to attack another firm. So two different defensive postures. One kind of internally focused, working on your opportunity, your threats, and your weaknesses as a company in a SWOT analysis. The other way being to try and go out into the marketplace and get, for however you get it done, to get your competitors to focus on attacking one of the other competitors rather than you. And then directly blocking an attack as opposed to just dealing with challenges in the marketplace. You can go with alternative technology. Introduce new features and models. If somebody's coming out with, if somebody's trying to attack you on differentiation of the product, you can come out with another differentiated product and defend by increasing your own differentiation. There's a number of other methods here for blocking an attack as well. Volume discounts to dealers. Letting attackers know that if they do attack, there'll be a response. Those are some of the main tactics for blocking an attack or going on the offensive. So, if we go back to our chart here again, this next column, if we go look at the template again, is attack versus defense posture. So with respect to Sony, would you say that Nintendo attacks or defends? Huh? And why is that?
Because of the stuff that we stated earlier, right?
Say again? I want to hear from Jose first.
Just because of stuff that we talked about earlier, they don't have like the resources that Sony may have.
Okay, so in that case, you would perhaps put defense because smaller, less resources than Sony, period. Okay, that would be your justification. Hisham, Armando, and then Hisham. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, they remake their games. They don't really create their new ones.
Okay, so
That's about it. That's what I was gonna say. They create like Legend of Zelda and just do like a version 5.
Hisham, say again.
They have like new version and better quality, but Sony like they didn't start with the PlayStation. They started with like TVs and a lot of things. And then Nintendo was like it only had this game. It don't have anything. So Sony is the one who started competing with Nintendo.
So Sony kind of comes up with the new games and then Nintendo reacts?
Like, yeah, they went way over because they have like more more things to say.
Got it.
Yeah.
So this is how I want you to fill out this chart. So we filled it out for the first row. In your analysis, you're going to fill out these other rows too, including the comments section. Okay, makes sense to everybody? Okay. So that brings us to market positioning maps. So market positioning maps are, folks, if you're not me, please stop talking for a second until I have like the discussion again. So how many people in here are familiar from your marketing classes or some other class with perceptual maps or market positioning maps? Huh, I'm surprised. I thought it would be higher. So this is a really common way of representing competitors in an industry on XY axes. So,
Okay. Yeah.
got it? Yeah, I figured this would be familiar. And the key here is to have X and Y axes that tell you or tell me as the reader of your case analysis something that I didn't know, you know? So some common criteria, price and quality on the same axis. Now, if you put, the reason I say on the same axis is because we put quality here and price here. What usually happens as quality goes up?
Price goes up.
Yeah, so it pretty much always looks like this. Very rarely do you have low quality and high price, or high quality and low price. So it doesn't tell me anything I didn't know already by putting price and quality on two different axes. But if you put price quality on the same axis, and then you put something else here, like product features, that might tell me something different. So other things you could put there, distribution network, some of the resources that your company has that the competitor doesn't have, differences in business model, and things that make me go, you know, when I read it. Something that is not obvious. So this is an example of a market positioning map for the auto business, and you've got price and quality here on one axis, and then the number of models on the other axis. So, you know, companies like Porsche and Ferrari have relatively small number of models, but the ones that they do have are extremely high price and extremely high quality. As opposed to that, GM and Ford have a large number of different types of models of cars, be it compact or full size or SUV or trucks, and they got multiple styles of each of those. However, the price and the quality tends to be lower. So this is one way to differentiate automakers. If I look at how about Brown Armstrong? So how would you guys, like Brown Armstrong versus, who would you like to compare him to? Huh? Who's doing Brown Armstrong? That's what I thought. So yes, you. Armando, who would you compare Brown Armstrong? Not that Armando, the Brown Armstrong Armando.
CBiz.
CBiz? Okay. And what are we going to compare him on?
Their audits.
So audit is on one axis. What's on the other?
Their tax. Or litigation.
What's that?
Litigation.
Okay, so can we say litigation specialty?
Yeah.
Because litigation is usually not a main, almost all public accounting firms do tax work and they do audit work.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do pension work, and there's a varying level of private versus corporate clients, or individual versus corporate clients. But litigation specialty, that's something useful to differentiate. So is Brown Armstrong high or low in litigation specialty? Huh? Low? And high or low in how much audit work they do? Okay, so we're going to put Brown Armstrong here. What about CBiz? High or low in
audit or litigation?
Both?
Litigation, they're high.
Uh-huh.
And audit, I would say they're in the middle.
Okay, so CBiz is going to go right about there. And the minimum that I want you to do is 2 competitors on this map. Mainly the main company you're focusing on and the competitor that you've used in the rest of the competitive analysis. And you're going to choose whatever topics for the axes you want. What I don't want is either A, things that are obvious, or B, if it weren't like this, if CBiz also was low in litigation specialty and high in audit, then the map would look like this, and that doesn't tell me anything about how they're different.
So you don't want that. You want the
I do not want this. I want a map which shows the difference between the two companies, and I want a map that's not obvious. Make sense? Okay. So I've given you a whole bunch of brainstorming material here for potential axes that you could use. So performance, features, flexibility, durability, conformance, all of these things. I've got a slide in here describing different product characteristics and then different service characteristics. So yeah, that's a pretty good map we did for CBiz. CBiz, however, is a service organization, so you could also take a look at some of these and choose from those as well. Product-oriented companies like Nintendo, like Sephora. Stephanie, is your hand raised?
Yes.
Yes. What's up?
So, for the map, you want it to look similar to the slide, or do you want it to be creative, like just the way it looks?
Yep. Well, it doesn't have to have different colors. Make it look professional, but it doesn't have to look exactly like the slide. Does that make sense? Okay. What I do want, however, so I've also given you another score. Anybody know what score is, other than how to keep score in competition? SCORE stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives, and it's It's a group of basically retired executives that does consulting services for a lot for small businesses. SCORE also has a way of comparing assets between competitors. And my colleague David Olson, again, had done a nice slide on this, and I decided to adopt it for this class as well. It's just another way of brainstorming the axes that you put together for your market positioning map. So it could be something about pricing, could be benefits and features, size and profitability of the competitor. Stephanie, yes?
What's the C in SCORE?
Huh?
The C in SCORE, what is it?
Service core of retired executives. And then they've got a nice chart here that SCORE uses to compare competitors, where you've got price, product, quality, reliability, company reputation, sales method, credit policies, like additional brainstorming material for you. So I've included those in here basically so that you have a lot of material to think about when you're trying to choose your axes for the map. I said that we would talk about so you'll see here next. This is in your own words. The only other thing that is not in the slides, but I want to point out here because it's I've made a note here in the actual template. Underneath the market positioning map, I want you to give me 2 bullet points. Litigation specialty and audit capability. And I want you to describe to me, by litigation specialty, we mean the specialization of certain members of the staff of the company in doing accounting, forensic accounting work for litigation, period. CBiz does a high level of litigation support, therefore we've ranked them high on this axis. I want you to give me a brief explanation, 1 or 2 sentences, for what does the axis mean, and why did you rank the 2 companies where you did on each of the 2 axes. Okay? Questions? Should be pretty straightforward there. I said earlier that we would go over generic competitive strategy. I forgot. We went over that last week already. So that we've already talked about. You're basically just going to tell me in each segment, is your focus company competing on low cost, or are they competing on differentiation? And then give me a couple of sentences describing why. It's 150. That's pretty much what I wanted to go over for competitive rivalry. Do you guys have any other questions? Anybody feel strongly or like weakly about whether I should kill this insect or not?
Kill it.
Okay, it's done. Yes, Stephanie.
The recordings and videos, you can get it from Blackboard?
Yes, the recordings, all the recordings up through last week. It took me a while, Christina, I think you had asked me. It took me until late yesterday to post the review session, but it's all up there now. Yeah, it takes me a while to upload them, so I just got it done yesterday afternoon.